What's up, everybody? Got the chat going. Oh, okay. Let me know if my mic is good. Hear the music I had on. It cuts it off. If the chat is good, welcome everybody in the chat room. Let me know if you guys can hear me and if the audio is good. We got 9.4K subscribers finally. We're getting there. We got to get to 10K. Maybe by the time I get remonetized, I'll be back at 10K. I'm loud and clear. Thank you, Indigo. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Magic Micah. Love you, the most beautiful woman in the world. We're here live. This is Exploring the Ka with, of course, your host, Rock Castaldo. And this is my Space Water podcast where we dive into the sound of the light right here, reporting to you from the lower Hudson River of New York. Hope you guys are doing well. It is January 26th, 2025, about 5:16 p.m. And we're going to dive deep into, you can see behind me here, Mount Kailash, and we're going to show some different view of Mount Kailash later, but we're going to get into the unsolved mysteries and the magnetic force of Mount Kailash, everybody. So if people are not aware what Mount Kailash is, you guys are going to be in for a treat. One of the most, not the mysterious mountain in the world. I mean, there's taller mountains, but there's not a person who can scale Mount Kailash. People experience just feeling really sick as they start to trek towards the top of Mount Kailash or just get around Mount Kailash. And in fact, they say that people will experience advanced aging when spending time there at Mount Kailash. And of course, there is supposed to be a group of ancient seers that reside in Mount Kailash, rishis and sages and sandhus that reside in this mysterious landscape. And I think it is definitely a spot of the ancient Vedic culture, not only a spot of spiritual significance, but a technology that aligns heaven and earth. Wow. So Mount Kailash is really incredible. You could see how it's in a pyramid form. We're gonna get into it. Let me just give you a little summary of some of the stuff that we're gonna get into tonight because even the mythologies that go along with this place has been scientifically proven by NASA, basically, right? NASA has even discovered mysterious anomalies about this place, right? So Mount Kailash, of course, is in Tibet, but it also is in the North India. Himalayas go into Tibet and North India, right? And this is the Axis Mundi. This is the center place of heaven and earth, the Mount Meru, right? Where Shiva sits on top doing his cosmic dance, right? And NASA has found and spotted and noticed seven different types of plasma or light anomalies that appear around Mount Kailash. On numerous occasions, they found this. And their best way to describe it is the extreme magnetic force of the mountain when the magnetic force of this incredible pyramid type structure, massive, massive mountain, right? When sometimes it meets the sky between when heaven and, it meets the heavens, it meets the skies. When sometimes during this interaction between the top of the mountain and the sky, it produces light anomalies, seven kinds of light anomalies, actually. And isn't this all incredible? Because what do we have in ancient Vedic and Hindu and ancient India? A lot of the myths that go along with even Indra is that he releases the seven celestial waters, right? He even slays Vitra the dragon, which I've described as the magnetotail inside the magnetosphere, where all the auroras and everything come in, right? He releases these rivers. Now, Mount Kailash is connected to the sacred rivers of the heavens. It's also, connected to the Ganges River and various rivers supposedly that go throughout India. But I think a lot of that is being mistranslated in the Vedas, and we're going to get into even the mysterious measurements and alignments that Mount Kailash has on the planet, especially the distance between Mount Kailash and the North Pole is 6,666 kilometers. I found that very interesting, that number, right? We have that 66666, all like you have literally 6,666 kilometers exactly from Mount Kailash to the North Pole. And if you double that number, 13,332 kilometers, that's the distance between Mount Kailash and the South Pole, right? So this Axis Mundi spot has a very interesting connection to North Pole and South Pole alignments. And that's very, very important because this is where information enters into our planet from the sun, from the stars, right? At the poles is where we have the celestial ring of angels, the celestial rings of auroras that arrive, right? The dancing of the lights, the shimmering Maruts of Vedic. And we're going to get into this. And there's all sorts of alliances that they use in Hindu that have to do with not just the earth and the sun as well, and the moon. And not just Mount Kailash, but the moon and the sun and everything else, right? When you have 108 mala beads that they chant on their beads and their they have like these. Do I have one here? I have one somewhere. Yeah, like these ones. These mala beads that they have, right? So there's a reason why there's 108 beads, right? And why they do these chants to the sun and the moon to align us literally to the distance between Earth and the moon, the diameter and everything. Mul if you look at the distance between Earth and the sun, the Earth and the sun is 108 times. If you okay, do it. You have to do it basically this way. If you multiply the diameter of the sun by 108, it roughly equals the distance between Earth and the moon. And the same thing between the sun. If you multiply the diameter of the sun by 108, it roughly equals the distance between Earth and the sun, right? So the same thing goes with the moon. The distance between Earth and the moon is 108 times the diameter of the moon. And it's the same thing. So there's a reason why they're chanting 108 times, right? Oh, Sobha. Yeah, it's Arabic. In Arabic. Yeah, that's Kailash. Yeah, Kailash is Sobha in Arabic. Yep. Yep, that's correct. That is correct. And it's a magnetic force that we're going to get into. Very mysterious, where sages live, all sorts of cosmic energies are channeled in to Kailash, and people cannot summit count. You got places like Mount Everest that are way higher that many people have accomplished. But anybody that goes up Mount Kailash either dies within 2 years or can't make it to the top. It's not just some kind of folklore that is just a myth, right? There's a reason why this is the Mount Meru. This is Axis Mundi. This is this place of that swastika symbol, that Axis Mundi symbol, that spiraling vortex, and the Axis Mundi in the middle, right? That this is Mount Kailash. And there's all sorts of mysterious forces, and it has to do with the magnetic force of this mountain. Mount Kailash is where not just it's literally like a place that has to do with quantum physics, bacterial genetics, bringing DNA and bacterias into the planet, and also cosmic rays, right? So why do I say this? I've talked about it before. It's been proven. Professor Chandra has written about what the Himalayan mountains do, not specifically Kailash, but just the Himalayan mountain range in general, right? There's spots on the Himalayan mountains that punch holes in the stratosphere. And when this happens, it happens usually during um, minimum sunspot cycles, right? Where and when this happens, pretty much anything that's working, any places where there's breakthroughs in the stratosphere, stuff that's lurking in the stratosphere, where there's breakthroughs, like when Mount Kailash, it punches a hole that forms a drainage route that funnels the cosmic and cometary dust and debris. This has all bacterias, all sorts of space water, basically, right? That's carrying all the elements of life from the solar winds. You got all this from supernova explosions. You have proteins. You have bacterias. You got bacteriophages. All this stuff floating around the cosmos. They're coming from comets. They're coming from meteor showers. There's all sorts of cometary ooze, right? That gets deposited in our stratosphere. Now, when we go into minimum sunspot cycles, any that's like a open invitation for anything that's in our stratosphere to come on in the spots where there's breakthroughs. And the Himalayas is one of those spots. So when we go into like minimum sunspot cycles, like we did in what was it, November 2017 or 18, right? Right when we had that shift, right when there was a lot of new sicknesses on this planet that arose as well, right? Well, there's spots in the stratosphere, like in the Himalayas, where it punches a drainage route, a funnel, that funnels in all the cosmic debris that's in the stratosphere. And because of the winds on the planet, when this happens in the Himalayas, it punches a drainage route. And when stuff comes on into the planet, and what I mean by stuff, I mean like cometary debris that has bacterias and all sorts of stuff that can cause illnesses and viruses and things like this, right? When this comes in, because of the winds, the first places it goes is China and Hong Kong and places like that, because it sweeps on in from the Himalayas and it goes on through there, right? So Professor Shaw and Fred Hoyle, so the late Sir Fred Hoyle, talked about it, and I never got to meet Sir Fred Hoyle because he died before I was friends with Professor Chandra. But over the last 10 years or so, I've been friends with Professor Chandra, and we've been in correspondence. And he's one of the most famous astronomers and astrobiologists on the planet. In fact, he coined the term astrobiology. He's in his mid 80s, and he's the one who coined the term astrobiology. And in fact, his mentor, Sir Fred Hoyle, is the one who came up with the term Big Bang. And he actually came up with the term joking around because they were talking about the origins of the universe and all of this. And he goes, "Oh, people want to make believe that it's all just happened by some sort of Big Bang." Right? And he said this sort of like, tongue in cheek, and it caught on. And this is where we had the and this is Professor Chandra's mentor, the late Sir Fred Hoyle. Now, Sir Fred Hoyle was a very interesting man, and he's the reason why I really got close to Professor Chandra because I was influenced by some of the books by Sir Fred Hoyle, like The Intelligent Universe and all of this, right? So he even wrote a science fiction novel or two, Fred Hoyle. The one of them I have is called The Black Cloud. This is very interesting because it's basically talking about life not being like human. That we should look for life in the universe other than looking like a human. Like, what about an intelligent cosmic cloud, like a black cloud, like like this is basically plasma, right? Intelligent plasma. So he was talking about this just hypothetically as science many, many years ago, but I think it's much more than that. I'm able to add my layer to research and mythology that's people have been debating about for hundreds of years, right? And I'm making some of these discoveries because this is my journey. This is part of my journey is to be an ancestral scribe, to return, to point us in the right direction on some of these scriptures. And when you see angelic beings in scriptures that are talked about coming in rings of angels, right? These are a celestial hierarchy of beings. This can be compared to the rings of auroras that we have at the poles, right? We have all sorts of hierarchies of angelic beings. The physical manifestations that you see in this reality comes in the form of light, comes in the form of, there's all sorts of hierarchies. So you're going to have angelic beings that appear to us as auroras. You have angelic beings that are suns and stars. They're like generals in God's army, right? They have planetary systems around them. Those are other beings, right? All these other, they're all part of the universe. You could call it the universe, or you could go in the religious aspect and call it God, right? So when we have rings of light that appear around our poles, these are the messengers of God. This is not beautiful display of light. There's information coming in. These are charged particles, electrons that are coming in with information. They're seeding the planet, right? And we're under an angelic incursion, in my opinion, right now. We're having worldwide displays of auroras. These are the cosmic dancers preparing the information that's coming through at the poles, right? And all the different places that we have breakthroughs in the spot. And one of these spots is Mount Kailash. Mount Kailash is the spot where they channel in energies, right? Mount Kailash is the spot where Shiva sits, right? This is the spot where Shiva makes his home. To the Hindus, and before it was Shiva, it was Rudra, right? The older forms in the Vedas, right? But later on, of course, it becomes Shiva and different names. But this is the world mountain, Mount Kailash, right? Yeah, some beings are black holes. They transmute to negative. Good point. See Kentucky, Bigfoot. And of course, right now we are demonetized on YouTube, but you guys can support my podcast and my work because we depend on your support, right? It's got to be a given. We both of us, right? If you guys are just tuning in all the time to receive information and knowledge, you got to also give back as well, right? So we depend on your support. So you guys can contact me at themysticalspiral.com if you want to contact me privately. If you guys want to donate, the PayPal is in the link in my live chat. You can also find the PayPal at themysticalspiral.com, my store, which we're gonna have 25% discount code up until midnight tonight is at the mysticalspiralstore.com. We'll pull that up in a little while, but we're gonna get into this world mountain for a minute of Mount Kailash, right? In the later Hindu literature, you have Mount Kailash in Tibet, which is also called Meru, right? It's the most sacred mountain and the birthplace to the Aryans, the Aryan nations and Aryan tribes, right? It's most likely their place of origin, their place they came in from the cosmos, that where their DNA was seeded from the cosmos, where Shiva did his Nataraj dance of destruction and creation and birth, right? And sustenance. All of this dance is done at the tip of Mount Kailash. This is, in my opinion, the most mysterious magnetic force on the planet, right? Way more powerful than the Egyptian uh, pyramid, right? The Great Pyramid of Egypt, right? And this is the spot where the Aryans, and it's connected to the North Pole, right? This is the spot where they came, where anything that enters our planet usually has to come in, especially if they come in through swarms. They're coming in at the poles, right? This is where information is seeded into our planet from the sun, coming directly from the sun into our poles, and it's completely identified with the North Pole. And I told you about the measurements at the beginning of the show, which we'll get into more, right? And it's the mountain of the center of the world, right? Um, the region around it is even called Ila Vitra, right? The land of Elah. And that's very important as well, because Elah is one of the most words for God that we've ever seen, right? Even with the word El or Elah, right? We're gonna get into that. I have a whole chapter in my book on that word, in fact, and the different L's. But Meru, these this mystical mountain, this Axis Mundi, it's talked about as being the source of the four great rivers. But these great rivers, when you translate it, unfortunately, a lot of scholars are translating it as rivers in India, right? But it's clearly translated as rivers, four great rivers that go around the world. Now, this is not around the earth as in inside the earth. It's around, it encompasses the earth. These are cosmic rivers, right? And of course, it's also connected, and it says it. These are, when you have these Meru, it's the source of these four great rivers that go around the world, and their divisions. These are the divisions of the heavenly Ganges, right? And as the heavenly Ganges get divided into sections, right? This is why the Ganges River in India is named after its heavenly counterpart, because you have the cosmic rivers of knowledge and information. This is how everything gets seeded on our planet. And remember, everybody, this is for entertainment only. I have to do this for YouTube. This is for, remember, don't, I'm not saying everything I say is true or not. This is from my own experiences and my own research. And I've been doing this for over 30 years of my 46 years, going on 47 years of my life. So since I'm in my teens, I have been diligently researching and experiencing various things related to these topics. So this is the why I am completely qualified on discussing various topics like this. I'm not saying I'm 100% right, but I'm saying I'm one of the real ones out there that you're going to be able to talk to about these topics. And I definitely welcome your input. If you want to correct me on anything, you could contact me or whatever. But the the heavenly Ganges is what falls on the sacred mountain, right? That's why mountaintops and rivers around these mountains are named after the heavenly counterparts, because you have the light pouring down, the rain pouring down from the heavens, the lightning pouring down from the everything pouring down from the heavens that reach the sacred mountains first, right? And the heavenly Ganges, they fall upon the sacred mountain. They fall upon Kailash. And also, uh, there's rivers throughout India and throughout the world that are connected to these branches of sacred rivers that we have on the planet, not just in the cosmos, right? So water in space and water on Earth are portals of knowledge, portals of energy, right? And the Tibetan plateau and the Mount Meru region, or the what they call in ancient times as Vitra, right? Is also has very special lakes on around them as well, like the Manasa Ovar Lake, which is at the base of Mount Kailash, and Kailash is the place where Shiva sits. It's the place of the ancient yogis, right? The yogi sons, the Vedic Indras and the Maruts, right? The sons of the gods, right? And this is the place where the Maruts come in. And the Maruts are storms of the sun. I did a whole show on the Maruts not too long ago. So if anybody wants to check that out, I definitely want to point out that the Maruts are one of the most mysterious forces in Vedic, and they're birthed by Rudra. Rudra is the older form of Shiva, right? And the Maruts are also directly linked to that 6666 number, the four sixes, not the three sixes, but four sixes. Because if, like I said, you have from here to the North Pole, from Mount Kailash to the North Pole, and I'll show you something even more mysterious about Mount Kailash with the way it looks. Um, so check this out. Let me change this on this for a second. So you see behind me right here, these ridges that go down Mount Kailash, and it goes, and they have this throughout. It's very similar to what they call the Kailasa Temple that was built in the 8th century AD. So it's not like it's ancient, 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 but the Kailasa Temple is in the Ellora caves. This is in the Deccan Traps of India. Now, in my opinion, the sun directly formed these traps and these basalt events that happen. Now, in the past, we've had solar lightning discharge events that have drastically changed our planet, right? It's like the lightning of finger of God, where the sun, a solar discharge coronal event. And these are angelic incursions, my friends. We've had them throughout the history. We've had them uh, very recently as well, right? We had one as recent as May 2024, worldwide auroras coming in, right? Um, you had one for sure, I think, in September 18th to September 19th of 1941, where one of the greatest auroral displays happened, and it was a geomagnetic storm that was probably one of the most that was ever recorded besides the 1859 Carrington event. We had in 1941, between September 18th into the morning hours of September 19th, we had a worldwide display of auroras, right? Really incredible. And then also, this happened in May of 2024. I don't remember the exact date, but it just happened last year. It was a G5 storm that caused the auroras all over the planet, Borealis, Australis, like all over, right? It was a worldwide display. And when you have these solar discharge events to the extreme, I mean, not just auroras, but I mean a wave of charged light coming directly from the gods, coming directly from the stars, from the sun, right? You have these discharge events that also can be like a direct impact where it not just forms a crater, but it triggers volcanism on the planet. It changes the CO2 levels drastically, and the volcanic uh, causes basalt events, right? That literally change the planet. And the Deccan Traps in India is one of these places, right? And then you can actually go back in our historic levels of changes of CO2 on Earth, right? We've had ripples in the measurements of CO2 throughout history. One of them is linked to the forming of the Deccan Traps in India. And I'm not saying for sure, but it could have resulted from a solar lightning impact discharge event. And this one is pretty much a smaller one than some of the other ones that could have happened that could have split Pangea, right? The world when we used to have one continent on this planet, right? But these are basalt events that happen over millions or at least a half a million square kilometers with over 500,000 cubic kilometers of magma. And this event that is with the Deccan Traps is also linked or close, at least closely timed with the extinction of a lot of the dinosaurs that happened. So, and the volcanism would have completely covered the sky, blanketed with ash, and it would have wiped out food. It would have wiped out a lot of things for many, many species, right? And what's interesting about these basalt events, what's very interesting about it, especially in the Deccan Traps in India, is this is where you have the most condensed area of megalithic temples built out of the basalt. You literally have temples like Kailasa Temple carved right out of that basalt event that was literally triggered, in my opinion, from the lightning of the sun, the finger of God, literally triggers the volcanism, the basalt event, and then all the temples get built out of the fallout of that event, right? And you have temple carved right out of the basalt, like Kailasa temple in India. Let me pull that up. And in my opinion, Kailasa temple, that name is like Kailash and Kailasa temple is the same thing basically. And when you look at Kailasa temple, it almost looks like a model of Mount Kailash. Stripped down Mount Kailash right now and removed all the snow and the cloud covering and everything, and just had it there as bare as it can be. It would look, in my opinion, like a very similar structure as the Kailasa temple and Ellora caves. Now, the Kailasa temple and Ellora caves also is a mystical place that has a lot of interesting and I think um, other forms of life that we're not currently aware of that live beneath Kailasa Temple and in the Ellora caves beneath. It could possibly be like reptilian type beings or gray alien type looking beings, but I don't think they're aliens at all. I think they're just normal conditions of the planet. And in fact, we're all aliens in a way. All of the atoms in our body has traveled the cosmos before they formed human. Do you realize that? Like the atoms that form our body, the particles that make a human, right? Before they made a human, they weren't born on Earth, those particles. They were birthed through supernova explosions. And then they traveled around the cosmos before they came into the Milky Way, and then they formed planets or things like humans and all sorts of different life. So no doubt, the particles that make up me and you and everyone watching this, the atoms in our body, have already traveled throughout the cosmos before they formed who we are, right? We are the stars. That's a scientific way of describing how other people have saying, "Oh, we're made of stars." Well, that's exactly how we're made of stars. Because when you have a supernova explosion, it's bursting calcium, it's bursting proteins, it's bursting the particles that make up who you are, right? And they travel this conveyor belt of the cosmos until they reach through the Milky Way and then they form humans, right? That's how we became who we are, right? And that area of the Ganges River is a very special area as well. I don't think people really even know about the special dolphins, the pure water dolphins that even live in that Ganges River, Mama Ganga, right? Although it's very polluted now, there's still very mystical properties about this area. And it's quite possibly the ancient river of the dolphins that they discuss, the Jahnavi, right? The Jahnavi that's discussed in the Rig Veda, right? Although I think the Ganges River is only mentioned once or twice by name in the Vedas, it's referenced in other ways, um, alluded to, right? So when you have uh, the Vedic culture is very, very symbolic in metaphors. And like I said, you need an ancient seer. You need an adept and spiritual initiate. And we all have those lifetimes within us somewhere, right? The particles in our body have been through many things in our lives. It's about activating it. And all of us have different paths. But I do feel that in prior lifetimes, I was once an ancestral scribe, and this is my way of returning and bringing back a knowledge that I once had, right? And it's a war. It doesn't come easy, everybody. To achieve knowledge, there's going to be a war that you're going to go through. Yeah, in there's been unexplained advanced growth and aging on people in Mount Kailash for sure. Yeah, Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot is talking about. Yeah, I referenced that earlier in the show. And you know, you have different words that you need to carefully examine too in the Vedas. And there's a word in the Vedas that's called kaksha, Kaksha, which can mean an enclosure or a zone or even a marshy area or something sometimes or some sort of swampy region. But in That's in later Sanskrit. term literature comes on. But when you have the older form like Kasha, where it's spelled Kaccha, which has to do with certain regions in India that they say, I don't think that's the case. I think a lot of these regions that's talked about in the Vedas are regions in the cosmos. And scholars, because they put a lot of, you know, human names and human aspects to in these stories to people, scholars go crazy trying to find oh, it's got to be a river in India somewhere that's extinct, or it's got to be some sort of region here, and they go crazy on it when I don't necessarily think they're talking about regions on Earth, mostly in this, and you have the word Janavi that appears a couple of times in the Rig Veda, which basically, in my opinion, is the Ganges, and it's also the name of a people that is by a river as well. And Vedic peoples are pretty much it's always they're always named after rivers that they live along, or you know different things like that. So people get named after the areas that they inhabit and the things that they inhabit, right? Yeah. And there's also the special species of dolphin that lives in the Ganges River. The Shimshamura, the Delphinus gangeticus, right? The Shimshumara or Shimshamura, Shimshamara, I think is the name. And they live in the lower Ganges River, and they're about to be extinct. They're very in jeopardy of being extinct, right? And they're associated with the Janavi, right? And it's called the River of the Dolphins. And I don't think many people even realize that, yes, the Ganges Rivers has a very special species of freshwater dolphin, and if they go extinct, it's going to be a really dangerous time on our planet. There's also the Minoan culture that I think is linked to this Vedic culture. You'll see a lot of times in Minoan artwork, they're yoking the bull or and the dolphin, right? This goes right into the knowledge about Vedic sea travel, not just the seas on Earth, but the cosmic seas. And the Ashwins, they travel on the seas in their cosmic boats, right? And the Minoans, I think, are completely connected to Vedic India, no doubt. You know, no doubt they are. Yeah, yeah, Kailash. So let me pull up Kailash Temple. Hold on. And the Ellora Caves. All right, let me share screen for y'all. All right, so these are this is, and I don't know, and this is carved, guys. This is carved right out of the basalt. And this basalt was formed from these Deccan traps and these Deccan traps. And if you look up how many megalithic sites and temples are in the Deccan traps, it's the most condensed area probably in the world of sacred sites. And it's all made out of the basalt event from the basalt from these events. And this one is carved right out of the basalt, one piece of rock, right? And look at this. And this, in my opinion, is a model of Kailasa, Mount Kailash, and the surrounding region of Mount Kailash. It even looks like some sort of landing platform over here, right? Really incredible. And underneath these, in the Ellora Caves, is an incredible. You see how this is carved right out of the freaking rock. Look at this. And this was in the 8th century, I think. This is one of the most incredible temples in the world. And in my opinion, it goes right with Mount Kailash. I think Mount Kailash is a bigger model. of what the Ellora Caves is. Might not be directly looking like it, but if you look at Mount Kailash, even when you get closer to it here, look at the ridges that go down it. Looks very similar to the way the Ellora Caves is made. It looks like one big pyramid structure, almost like a ziggurat form. It's just that the way we get a lot of the pictures we're getting of Mount Kailash is not a good version of it. Like this, all these surrounding regions, very similar to the Ellora Caves. It's definitely some sort of pyramid. Look at these are like temples, pyramids. It's a complex, and it is one of the most mysterious magnetic forces. Like I said, Indra releases the seven rivers on Mount Kailash. Now, I mean seven rivers on when he slays the dragon Vitra, right? And these seven rivers are the cosmos. They're not on Earth. I've been saying this for a very long time. And when you got NASA saying that they've confirmed that on numerous occasions, the magnetic force of Mount Kailash is literally creating seven different types of lights that form around the tip of Mount Kailash. And it's because of Mount Kailash, when heaven and earth meet right there, it produces the magnetic force of the mountain is producing these lights, these seven different types of plasma. And this is directly, directly from Vedic folklore and Vedic writings, right? The idea of the Vedas is a cosmic waters, right? Just like Egyptian, right? There's one Vedic god that's called the son of the waters, Apam Napat, and the waters being the cosmic waters. And he's the Vedic version of Neptune, right? Or the Roman god, who's the Roman god of the sea, right? And he basically is that word naw, N-A-U, like where we get nautical, that means like the waters in in Vedic, right? That's like directly where we get that from. And even where we get the word man, right, comes from the first Vedic man, Manu, right? That's where we get the word man from Manu. And you know, the Egyptian culture comes right from Vedic. Everybody loves the Egyptian cultures now that it comes right from Vedic, right? Like I said before, they're they're just the Egyptians are stem from the Aryan culture. They're the Asuras. They're Asura warrior priests, tribes mixed with devas. They're the Asura devas, right? They're all mixed, but they picked the sides, right? And they went to wars these sides. And just like the Persians and the Assyrians, they worship the winged disc, right? The winged disc of the sun, right? And Osiris is the Egyptian god of the dead, but he's a sun god, a dead sun god that returns, right? And he's basically the version of the Vedic Yama, who's a Vedic god of the dead. And when you have the word Amen Ra, it comes right from Om Rama, right? Om Rama. And Om is the bull of the chants, right? It's the heartbeat of the sun. When you have Aum, 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 that literally is the heartbeat of the sun. It's the bull of the chants, the bull of the sun, right? And it's identified with Indra, it's identified with Vedic gods all throughout the Vedas. And in the Rig Veda, Indra conquers the powers of darkness by releasing the rivers, right? And and he conquers the power of darkness with the divine word or the Brahman, right? Om is also called Brahman, not Brahma, the Brahmin, right? It's there's a really really famous verse that's of Vamadeva, right, from the Rig Veda. It describes the bull of the chants, right? And it talks about it's in Rig Veda 4:58 2 and 58 line 2, and it says, "Four are his horns, three are his feet, two are his heads, and seven are his hands. Bound threefold, the bull roars, the mighty God has entered into mortals." Right? And people got to realize what this chanting and bull of chanting is talking about. It means like the forces and the music and the voice of God, the voice of the Son, is absorbing into man, right? You got all sorts of sacred syllables and words. That's what Sanskrit is made out of. It's described as the language of the gods because it's mimicked. It's aligning with the primal sounds of nature and the universe, right? And this is what Shiva is, right? This is the older the newer form, right? And some Vedic hymns are just like hymns to Osiris, right? So Osiris and Egyptian are basically it's coming right from things like Vedic hymns, right? So and when you have Yama being this solar resurrection god, right? The divine son who's sacrificed, and he sacrificed to establish a path for people, a path for humanity, for humanity to find truth even, right? And Yama is also associated with the older Varuna, and Yama also represents Mitra and Varuna. Right? These are the some of the older forms. And you got everybody talks about how Egyptians have mummies, right? That come actually Vedic as well. You got one of the oldest kings and earliest kings of the Vedic solar dynasties, King Nimi, right? Nimi, Nimi. King Nimi was one of the earliest and oldest kings of the Vedic writings, the solar kings. And he is said to have commanded 1,000 year long sacrifice to the gods, right? And he remained as entire as if it were immortal. That's how it's described. You have in the Rig Veda VP 4:5-7 says the corpse of Nimi was preserved from decay by being embalmed with fragrant oils and resins, and it remained as entire as if it were immortal. And that's right in the Vedas, in the Rig Veda. Actually it's described this is in the Vedic Puranas. It's not in the Rig Veda. It's in the Vedic Puranas, the Puranas, and it's in Vedic Purana 4 dot 57 dot 5.7. You could find that where they talk about the corpse of Nimi, right, being preserved from decay by these fragrant oils and resins, right, and it made him look as if he were immortal, like he was alive, right. So this is a much older and better form of mummifying, just like some of the giants were said to have been found even in Sardinia as late as 1970s and 80s, right? I have personal people that I know, not just by rumor, people that I've know and talked that helped excavate in Sardinia, helped excavate these giants, and how the military came and with the church and took them out on flatbeds, on helicopters, put them on these big pallets and strapped them to pallets and took them off in helicopters from Sardinia, right? And you can find the testimonies. This is the only version of it that's in English because he only speaks Italian. I've talked to him in Italian on the phone before. You could get the book by Luigi Muscus. He's from Sardinia. And he talks about the giants that he even and his uncles and cousins had helped excavate. These are actual testimonies from all different people that talk about excavating giant bones out of the Nuragis and the different megalithic sites in Sardinia. and Sardinia is a secluded place, so there was a lot of these temples and burial grounds that didn't go that were went untouched all the way from the Phoenicians until the 80s and 90s. Maybe even some today are still untouched, right? But, you know, there's what time we got here? Let's go back to the chat room for a minute. See who's in the chat room. Baccarat. Oh, Zeralath is here. What's up, Zeralath? And Jimbo Wop. Exploring the Ka is exploring the aspect of our souls. Yep, exactly. What's up? Johnny's here too, brother. Yeah, I do believe there are science certain John, and even like Bigfoot and the Yeti, it all linked to Mount Kailash and the Tibetan mountains as well. They could be protectors of these temples. I mean, you literally can't summit Mount Kailash without getting really sick. People feel it. Thank you, Riddle Hill. And when you got, the Egyptians, they come straight from Vedic culture. Like I said, you have Amen Re or Amen Ra. That, in my opinion, comes from Om Rama, right? That's coming directly from that. I mean, it's too close. Means basically the same thing. And the dynasty that brought a lot of splendor and knowledge back to Egypt was in the later 18th dynasty, and is really popular actually nowadays, is Akhenaten and Tutankhamun, of course. But actually, Akhenaten's father was Amenhotep III, and Amenhotep III's father was Thutmose. Was it the Thutmose the fourth? Thutmose the second? Let me look it up in my notes. I gotta look it up. It was either Thutmose. Hold on a second. No, it was Thutmose the second or fourth. The fourth. Thutmose the fourth was the father of Amenhotep the third. So, and right now we got my buddy Umal Sankar, the Sun Yogi. He's at that Mahamela, whatever it's called. It's every 12 years in India. They have that huge festival. He's there right now doing free sun yoga. Yeah, it is the umbilical cord of the world. It's the Axis Mundi. It is the Axis Mundi. Yes, sir. Don't forget, everybody, to support in PayPal because we no longer have a super chat. Even $1 helps, really helps. We depend on your support, everybody. So, the 18th dynasty is very, very interesting. Now, we're going to talk about for a second their connection to Vedic and their connection to Sanskrit knowledge. Now, there was a tribe called the Mitanni that spoke basically pure Sanskrit. They were from North Syria. They had giants among them. They were chariot warriors. They worked with meteorites and iron, meteoric and alien iron and gold. They were the ones that provided King Tut with his double-edged dagger that's made out of meteoric iron, right? That was given to his grandfather, Amenhotep III, right in the Amarna letters. So you can look into the history of the Egyptian pharaohs. Now, at one time they were at war with the Mitanni. Mitanni ruled for a few centuries in North Syria and those areas, right? They were uh like Mad Max type chariot warriors of the desert, and they were flamboyant as well. They weren't just warriors. They were had their own like flamboyant eccentric style. They would look like clowns sometimes. They would paint their faces white like death with red lips. Then they would shave their heads where they just had three long ponytails, one coming out the center, two coming out the sides. And they would wear these big, baggy balloon like silky pants, right? And and sometimes they would be naked even in the battlefield with just slong hanging, right? Just just hanging. And so that was like a sign of dominance sometimes too when you had a big horse thing hanging there, right? But you got these Mad Max type chariot warriors that were speaking almost pure Sanskrit, right? And they started to intermarry with Egyptian solar dynasties. So you had Mitanni who are solar kings as well. They were having Mitanni princesses intermarry with Egyptian pharaohs. And the first one to do this was Thutmose the Fourth. And Thutmose the Fourth was Amenhotep the Third's father, Akhenaten's grandfather, Tutankhamun's great grandfather. Now, Akhenaten's father was Amenhotep the Third. Tutankhamun's father was Akhenaten, supposedly, right? So Thutmose the Fourth was the first one to intermarry with Mitanni princesses. In fact, it took a while for the first choice. There was like a whole thing going on. And but they don't know if Mutimwa. Now, Mutimwa was one of the wives, the very special wife of Thutmose IV. And Mutemwa, right? Now, she may have been the Mitanni princess. She could have been Aratama's daughter. Aratama, you find letters of Aratama right in the Amarna letters. So if people want to look it up, it's uh R is it Aratama Artama or something like that? AMA or Aratama, I think his name is. Or is it Aratama the first maybe? Aratama the first. Hold on. I know I got the Amarna letters might be upstairs. If I have the Amarna letters down here. I know I have them somewhere. No, I was looking in the oh no, dude, Scotland is for sure connected to India and Egypt. I've already talked about this for sure. Scotland, the Druids of in Ireland, they're all connected. That their language comes right from it. Like the Banshee is Ben Sidi. Sidi comes right from India, right? The Banshee, all those words. And Scotland, places like the Kailash stone circles, that's ancient Vedic culture, for sure, for sure. And I've talked about this, right? There, the place of Kailash is the place of the shining ones, right? The word Deva literally means shining one. The word Maruts, they mean Asura and Deva, shining one. The word Maruts literally is the shining ones, the kindling fires of the sun, right? We're going to get into the Maruts in a little while, um, even more. For sure they're related, right? For sure. And especially Druids and Celtic and all of that, right? For sure. And you got the elongated. My friend Maria Wheatley even found the elongated skulls of Stonehenge, right? So you have the elongated skulls of the 18th dynasty of Akhenaten and Nefertiti. Even though I think the bust of Nefertiti that they show is actually made up, it's not real. It's an exaggeration of what they look like. Just like you see the big these big portrayals of Akhenaten here. Um, Let me pull up so I can make sure that I could see myself here. When you got these big portrayals on here, I think that was his head. It might have been a little long elongated, but not like that. No way. There's no way. They wouldn't have been able to support their head if it was that big. They'd be like freaking, their necks would have had to been like, there's no way. There's no way. But you had Thutmose the fourth. Let me not get too sidetracked here. You got Thutmose the fourth that started to intermarry with Mitanni princesses, and supposedly Amenhotep the third didn't have any children with Mitanni princesses, but Queen Tai, his wife, well, one of his wives, most likely was related to um well, I mean, this was Thutmose the uh let me go back to him because I don't want to get mixed up. His wife Mutemwa, right? She may have been Aratama's daughter, right? Aratama the first. And did I just see an orb go by? I think I just saw an orb go by. It was like um he may have been Aratama the first, the king of Mitanni, who fought he fought against the Hittites successfully, I might add. And these are, incredible warrior tribes. And Mutemwa might have been Aratama's daughter. She was the mother to Amenhotep III. Now, Amenhotep III was arguably the greatest pharaoh that ever existed in Egypt. Now, what's interesting about his birth is that he was said to be an immaculate conception. And now this could have been a rumor to inspire inspiration amongst the people that he was like of the gods. You could say that, but you could also just say that as a way of discarding could have really been. Now, Mutemwa, the story that goes with her is that she put the ankh to her chest and was impregnated by the light. Right? So was she seated by a light? Was she impregnated by a light? Because Amenhotep III was said to be have born through an immaculate conception. And he is Akhenaten's father. He is Akhenaten's father. And in fact, Akhenaten gets credit with starting Atenism when it was his father, Amenhotep III, who really started it. But Akhenaten was the one that heretically changed it at all. He started going and taking down monuments, and but he wasn't really trying to disobey the gods in a way. He was trying to return things to the beginning of creation. He was trying to recreate creation, right? There's a book uh, that talks a little bit about that called Tutankhamun's Armies. You guys can get that talks a little bit about Akhenaten in there, Tutankhamun's armies. And see, that's the Mitanni dagger right there. That's the Mitanni dagger. It's a double-edged meteoric iron. This is an alien dagger. This is made out of alien metal. Really incredible. But yeah, Mutemba, she may have been born through a mystical force, being impregnated by the Maruts. You have light that can arrive on this planet and veil itself or absorb itself into an as human. And the human might think it's just spiritually inspired, that it's business as usual, that they're just having like some sort of awakening. But it's much more, much more. And we've had angelic incursions where this has happened. It's happening now. Like I said, it's happening right now. And I think on March 21st, 2025, we're going to have a significant solar event right around that time. That's why prayer, faith, it's not enough. You have to participate in the collective consciousness. This is why I create the products that I create, people, to help your mind, body, and soul, to align you to the cosmic forces, to help and raise your consciousness and protect you from the EMF and the negativity around you at all points. right? You can positively program these as well to really protect you. It's really important that people use the minerals, the trees, the everything around us because that's how we spiritually align ourselves to nature and the universe. By using manufactured products to take the place of minerals and crystals and trees and we're substituting that stuff for our own connection to nature and the universe. We're letting technology manufactured products do the work for us instead of us aligning ourselves with the technology ourselves, right? We're supposed to be part of nature and the universe. We are the technology. We're not supposed to manufacture things so we can sit back and let the technology work for us using a replicated version of what we should be effing. And Amenhotep the third, if he was born through some sort of immaculate conception, it could be looked like as he was is an antichrist figure in Christianity, right? And then who was Amenhotep the third? He was about invoking the goddess. He, out of all pharaohs, he one most dedicated to Sekhet or Pasht or Bast, the lioness, which is the roaring force of the solar flash, the rolling force of the sun, who has the light coming out of the caves in her eyes, right? Literally the sunspots that they talk about. And Pasht is the lady of the caves. She's the one with the angry, fierce light in her eyes, which literally talks about the fierce flashes coming from the sunspots, which are the caves of the sun. When you have Mitra and Mithra being this rock born god born from a cave, light, a sun god born from a cave, and he's also a storm god. This is the storms that come from the sunspots. And Amenhotep the third, I mean, shit, he married at least two pure-blooded Mitanni, and these are North Syrian Sanskrit-speaking people, Vedic people, Aryan people. At least two of them, Mitanni, Gulkepa and Tadu. They were Gulkepa was the daughter of Shutarana II, and Tadkepa was the daughter of Tushratha, very famous Mitanni kings. And Amenhotep III also married wives in other regions. He didn't just marry, he also married two of his own daughters. One of them I had a dream about, Sitamun. She spoke to me in a dream, right? And her name was Sitamun. And the other one was Iset. Now, he also married daughters of Babylonian kings, daughters of other rulers of Amia, which is a place in Syria. He married a daughter of the ruler of Arzawa, um, and another daughter of a couple of Babylonian kings that he married daughters of as well, right? So they were aligning themselves with other solar dynasties. No doubt that the pyramid culture comes from Vedic. Ultimately, it comes from Kailash. It comes from Kailash. And Kailash is the most mysterious force we have on the planet. Right? How incredible is that it's aligned to the North and the South poles? How incredible is that? Right? For those that are just joining it, I talked about some of the measurements of Kailash earlier in the show. Shout out to Hadi Nadif. Hadi Nadif. Hadi Ass. Hari Ass. Shout out to Hari Ass. Hari Sniff. What's up, brother? Hadi. It almost sounds like Harry. Harry. Hadi. That's a cool name, though. Hadi. Hadi. It means like of God. Hadi. Doesn't it? Hadi. Does Hadi mean of God? You like kickboxing from Morocco? There's a lot of kickboxers in Morocco. The cave is the uterus. That's true. That's another version of it. But we speak about, you know, Sanskrit. And in Sanskrit, they speak about the creation of the world in the Nataraja, which comes out of Mount Kailash, right? And as the dance of Shiva happens, that Nataraja, right? He is the Lord of the cosmic dance. He sends pulsating waves of awake of awakening sounds through matter. He awakens matter with the voice of God, right? This is how it's talked about. This is like the God of the Bible, right? He wanted light, he spoke the light to be, right? And the Lord of the dance is Shiva, and he sends those pulsating waves of awakening sound right through the matter. And he seduces it to life from its sleeping stasis. And as the matter dances, it does so by dancing around Shiva like fiery auroras, right? In a ring or in a loop. And this is famously used right outside of CERN and NASA, right? Those auroral fiery forces that come in, those emanations that circle Shiva, right? As he dances, he creates and sustains the manifold, right? The phenomena of the universe. He's dancing and destroying everything by the fire of the stars, by the fire of the sun. All forms and names he brings into existence, right? His form is everywhere, all pervading. He's the Ein Sof of Hebrew as well, right? He dances the fire, water, wind, ether, plasma. He's dances forever in his court. And this is where he does it at the tip of Mount Kailash. And isn't that incredible that Mount Kailash has been found by NASA, like I mentioned earlier in the show, to produce seven different types of lights. These are the seven rivers of Indra that he releases. These seven lights that are seen around the Mount Kailash are seven plasmas. They're Mount Kailash connects the axis mundi to the cosmic rivers, right? It connects to Mount Kailash. This is why you can't be on Mount Kailash. It'll age you. If you stayed upon Mount Kailash for 24 hours, you would come back an old man. You would have the insides of an old man. You would be withered. And I think people have even spent time. I don't even know if anybody's been to the tip, but I know people that have tried climbing it. Many of them have died very shortly after. Very shortly after. That one, what was that one guy that tried? Reinhold? Let me see something. Has anyone climbed Kailash? Well, it says the connection between the spiritual world and the physical world. That's the first thing that I pulled up when I hadn't looked online about Kailash. I don't like pulling things up on my computer. It gives me viruses. I'm not pulling it up. I got out of it. I'd rather look it up on my phone. Let me get back to YouTube here. Let me see if anybody's ever scaled Kailash. I got drum and bass on in the background. You guys can't even hear it. The magnetic force of Mount Kailash, this is what's producing those lights. those seven different types of lights that NASA has found on numerous occasions, right? It's the magnetic force. It's extreme. It's extreme. It's intense. And guys, don't forget to support me at PayPal, or you can go to the spiral.com. Check out the website we got here. Hold on, let me pull it up. Check out. We got all sorts of pendants, crystals, anything you want, gemstones. And remember, we have the menu here where specifically, if you want to just shop through the whole menu, we have, you could go to specific pages. You could find every product at the main page. They're just mixed in there. But if you want to go to specific things, we have specific, like if you want palm stones or skulls or specimens or towers, like you could go like crystal specimens if you're looking for specimens. We got the specific specimens here, right? So really incredible. A lot of them are imprinted at diamonds as well, and most of them are hand sourced. Some of them were bought at gem shows, but most of them were hand sourced by the people that I know, and a few of them were bought at gem shows. Really incredible, really incredible, everybody. Some of the best you could find in the world, and the most ethically sourced. And the pendants are definitely the most unique pendants you could find on the planet, and they're powerful. A lot of energy to them. Really incredible. I'm gonna put this up tomorrow too. Um, I gotta take the right pictures of it. But check this out. Drop the freaking thing. I just that little, those like canister things that you spray air on the computer. I just dropped that shit. Check out this shit. This was charged at the North Salem, New York Balance Rock too last year, and I was gonna keep it, but I decided to put it up for sale. This is a Lemurian. It's got a lot of rainbow too. It's a Lemurian quartz specimen with golden muscovite all here. You can't really see it too good on the because of the light. Maybe if I call this is all gold muscovite, and then you got really big pieces of Lemurian quartz, the Lemurian barcode going up it, the whole side. There's a good angle of the barcode. It goes all the way up the side. Look at that. Really incredible. And there's all rainbow through this as well. Big, huge Lemurian tower in there with the golden muscovite all over it. This is from Brazil. Beautiful piece here. Yeah, this t-shirt. If people have ever seen when I lived in California, I got this. You know that this t-shirt I got in 2001 or 2. That's how old this t-shirt is. This shit is made by the official company that makes the game. This is a card game for Mexicans called the Loteria. So the Loteria, this is the official company they had a store in California. I don't think you can get these shirts anywhere else. And this was from the official store. And this is the card in it's sort of like a tarot card game, but it's not tarot. It's like a play card game for children, where they have different symbols on cards. So like on the back of this one, it says El Pasar El Un Panteón or something, which means like I was wait, it says Pasar un Panteón un Calavera, I think. which means like I was walking through the graveyard and I found the skull. I think that's what it means. Can't get more metal than that. La Calavera. And that's Max Calavera too, his name Max Skull. La Calavera. Thank you guys for joining me. The mysterious magnetic force of Kailash will be live soon. Don't forget, go to the Mystical Spiral store and spiral out.